No legs for Tingo, no legs for Tingo.
Banging.
He can't go because there's no legs for Tingo. Can't ride a bike, can't sing a song. You don't need legs to sing for Tingo. I'm in a hotel.
What? How are those? I forget how those are.
They're weird and full of people, and not all those people wear masks.
What?
It's unnerving.
Yeah.
And,
What are you doing in a hotel with people-y things?
Well, we're here. I'm here with my wife because she just got a new job.
Ooh, congrats.
Thank you. And the job is based in Atlanta. So we are in Atlanta, meeting her compatriots, going to too many restaurants, which are also full of people who, since they are eating, are not wearing masks.
Funny how that works.
Yes, but they're all breathing, though. So
breathing. Well, humans are supposed to breathe.
They are. They're just not supposed to breathe all over me.
That's true.
And so it's nice. It's like the Disney haunted house, it's like it's nice, but it's also full of terrifying things.
It's also haunted.
It's also haunted by invisible tiny ghosts named COVID Jerry.
Yes.
And they're all hitchhiking.
They are. They are. They're like, can I get in your lungs? And I'm like,
yes.
No. Not happening. So where do you normally live?
I live in St. Pete in Joran.
So you live in his house?
No, I don't really live in his house.
Like a ghost.
Yeah, exactly.
You hitchhiked, yeah.
I am. Wish that would be fun.
That'd be cool.
I would haunt Joran's house. No, I live in my own house in St. Pete with my wife, who is with me here in Atlanta, and our 3 cats.
Nice.
Yes. Their names are Henry, Smoke, and Sigourney Weaver.
I love it. Did they come to the hotel?
They did not.
They're behind that door right there.
Yes, they are.
They are. They're ghost cats.
Ghost cats.
They just, there's one.
Oh, well, this is interesting. I forget how hotels are.
They're nice, kind of. There's nowhere to do laundry. I don't know if you remember that part.
Yes, I do.
Yes, I did not. So I did not pack appropriately.
Oops.
Yes.
Well, you can always just hang it on the door and pay $80 to wash like one T-shirt. That's always an option, right?
Yes.
That's what I remember about hotels.
Yes.
Oh, it's how much? That's what I remember.
I'll just shake it out.
Right. I'll just go bang it in the river down the road, down yonder.
Bang it in the river. That sounds like a song.
It does.
Bang it in the river, down yonder.
Down yonder, Bang it in the river, down yonder,
Where tomorrow?
Inside out.
That's 2 musicals now that we've written.
We're making an entire musical, I think.
We are.
We have 2 musical numbers.
That is the objective of today's call.
Right.
I was wondering what the objective was. I wasn't sure.
Now you know.
Perfect. Write an entire musical in an hour. I am game. Awesome. Can we do it as a musical? Because that would be really fun.
That's quite the design sprint challenge, but I think it could be done.
It is.
Okay.
So the real ulterior motive to get you on the call, you thought it was to write a musical.
I always get tricked.
Yes. The real objective is to open up your skull and reveal your brain.
Are you sure you want to do that?
Yes. We want to pick around and, hey, what's this? How long you been walking around with this thing in there?
This is a metaphor, by the way.
Good.
Yes. You know, I just want to make sure. We were talking about ghosts.
Right.
So it could go anyway.
And you know, we are recording the call.
Oh, perfect.
In you know, sake of transparency and disclosure. Right. And we will potentially use the entirety and also potentially slice it up into clips. And
I prefer just the first 3 minutes. That'd be great.
Yep.
Of course.
Yeah.
And awesome. We want to cover a bunch of stuff. You got a new book out. You and I have had multiple conversations about other things too, and I'd love to kind of revisit some of those things that you and I have been talking about. So
sure.
I've been binging Jessie Shternshus videos.
Oh no.
So
that's
on which website?
Oh no.
On which website?
Yikes.
Well, why don't you tell us about the book? It's about meetings.
It is.
It's called No More Meetings.
No more meetings. Yeah. It's a book. And it's the idea of it was that meetings are pretty boring, sucky, passive, that sort of thing. So the idea was, how do we help people make them more experiential, interactive, and the learning stick. So the idea behind it was, you know, each chapter has a frame and a game, so that if you're looking at the book, you could really go to the table of contents and say, okay, well, I'm going to be facilitating this meeting, or I have this need or this outcome that I'm looking for. Maybe it's communication or collaboration or innovation, and I need something to deliver that outcome with in a way that people will remember. And so you can flip through and find different exercises and games to do that with. And that's really kind of my style of learning. So it kind of follows that style of learning. You could do it either in person or virtually. It's set up that way too, so you know how you can do it, and also together or asynchronously. So because sort of you have all those scenarios these days.
So as a fellow writer, I'm curious, like, how did you arrive at the indexing methodology? Did you pile a bunch of, you know, little mini exercises or, you know, and activities on your table and then chunk them, or how did that work?
So first we came up with the exercises, and then thought about the scenarios. Yeah. And with my first book, one of the things we learned from first book to second book was the like user friendliness, if you will, of that book to this book. And that book, one of the things I feel like we left out was that you would have to like doggy ear it to find things, and it made it harder to find things fast. And so this one, we knew that we wanted to make it much more user-friendly. And so we were thinking about it as we were writing. How can we make sure that when somebody picks up the book, it's more user-friendly towards the audience that would be reading it? And that way they don't have to necessarily read it cover to cover to find something. They could just go, you know, and then like, here's the thing I could use right now if you're kind of in a bind, or if you have the leisurely time to read it, you could read it cover to cover. So we were thinking about that from the beginning.
Don't you wish most books were organized that way?
Yes. I mean, I wish my first book was organized that way. Yeah. My own book. Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of
Don't you wish somebody had told Marshall McLuhan that?
Yeah. I wish every...
I know I do.
Yeah. I wish every book was organized that way. And it's weird when I think about it, because that's how I organize everything else that I do.
Right.
every exercise and framework that I put together for facilitation, I always organize it that way. So I don't know why I didn't do it in my first book. It was kind of like, duh, like, but you live and learn.
So are the exercises in No More Meetings, are they things that you've pulled from your existing business, or did you make them new, or a combination?
It's a combination. I have more exercises than I know what to do with. That's pretty much all that's in my brain, sadly. It's just a bunch of exercises and nothing else. So yeah.
That's a song.
That is a song. If
that's an Olivia Newton-John song is what that is.
Exercise, exercise, and nothing else. Exercise, exercise, and nothing else.
Love it.
Right.
Ding, that's
ding.
number 3.
Thank you. Here every night. So yeah, it was a combo. So some of the exercises were brand new because that day I thought of something new and I was inspired by something, I don't know, I read or thought about, or who knows, somebody talked to me and I was like, oh, that could be an exercise, because that's my brain always goes to exercises. Or there were some that I had been using for years. So there were, you name it, they're all in there. I mean, not all of them. There's plenty more where they came from. Exercise, exercise.
I am fascinated by that function of the brain, because I think I have that part, at least part of my brain.
Oh, you definitely
does that too.
For sure.
Time.
Yes.
I mean, everything anybody says or does, I look at it and go, oh, that could be a thing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Oh, kitchen scissors. Oh, wait, that's already a thing. Whatever, like that could be a thing.
Yes. I mean, that's why I loved connecting with you, because it was like, he gets my brain. He gets it. Yeah. Yeah.
But I wonder how many other people have that part of the brain. Like, what is that part?
It's just us.
It's just you two.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I've been waiting to tell you.
That's the next song. It's just us.
That's the ballad.
Yes. It's only our brains. No one else could even be trained. It's just us.
It's just us.
It's only our mind. No.
I'm sorry.
Next rhyme is not going. Not going to do it. So Jessie, have you heard back from your book? Have you gotten any kind of feedback from anyone who's been like, I used it, it's amazing?
My book hasn't called me. But
it hasn't?
I've been waiting.
Next song.
That's the Harry Nilsson. Ding, ding, ding. I'm sitting here. I'm by the phone, waiting for my book to call. I'm sitting here. Right? It's the upbeat kind of. Okay.
Yes.
All right. What is that? 5 now?
Yeah.
All right. We're almost there. We're halfway there.
My book hasn't called me. My book hasn't called. It's awesome. The best musical ever.
No, in all seriousness, yes, I have gotten feedback about the book, which has been really nice, and people are using it already. I mean, it hasn't been out very long, so I'm hoping, I'll get more and more feedback as people use it and things like that. But anytime I hear that somebody's using it, of course, I'm really happy. That's the whole point, is I just wanted to give people another set of tools that they would be able to use and enjoy, and really just to make meetings better. That's the whole point. It wasn't to go on some like book tour or something. It was really just, here's something to share and hopefully to help. So that was the idea.
That was one of the things we talked about last time. Jessie was like, I don't want to go on a book. And I'm like, I can't wait to go on a book tour. Let's go on a book tour.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I don't need to go on a book tour. I'm fine. Yeah.
Okay. I want to ask a follow up on that. I just want to know. So, did you get any like particularly good stories about like using those, or was it just sort of like, Jessie, I love your book, it's great? Or did anybody kind of really lay it out for you, tell you like the change that they saw?
So I think more since it's only been out like about a month, it's more about the exercises that are in it that people have used in the past, the exercises like we talked about before that are older that we've used with facilitating training or one-on-ones that I think have really just opened up the way people have connected with one another and them understanding either each other on their team better or their customer better. And those are some of the exercises that are embedded in the book because the book is so new. I mean, it's really been out maybe a month, you know, I'm not going to get maybe those stories quite yet, I don't think, as much as them enjoying, you know, reading it right now and thinking about using them and things like that. So I hope that I will start to get some of that feedback later on. But yeah, there are plenty of those exercises in the book that are kind of the tried and true. And that's why I wanted to put them in there because I've used them over and over again. And I've gotten the feedback and quote unquote case studies, things like that, that I know have really changed teams and organizations.
Do you have like a top 3 go-to?
A top 3. I really like to change things up a lot, but
so no top 3. Next question, Joran.
Yeah. Well, I know there's one thing that I'm using right now with a client that it's interesting. At first they pushed back. They were like, no, we already do this thing for our new hires. We just ask them, you know, to tell us a little bit about themselves and then we move on. And they kept pushing back because it wasn't a part of their culture, but we're redoing their whole onboarding for their product organization at this big company. And I wanted to do like my own version of user manuals and so that they could get to know each other better. And they just pushed it out last week and it's getting great feedback. That's also in the book. And it's really interesting how they're all like having new one-on-one conversations with each other based on looking at the user manuals. And we used like the Miro kind of tools for them so that they're highly interactive. They're very visual. They can use pictures and things like that. And it's just so different from what they were doing before. And it's super user friendly and they're connecting with their teammates who are all remote now in a way they weren't connecting before and just have so many ways to start conversations and things like that. Whereas before it was just kind of like, oh, this is the new person. And they would read it for 2 seconds and then never look at it again.
They're from Ohio and they like dogs.
Exactly. The end. Yeah.
So that brings up, in my mind anyway, that brings up the topic of empathy, which is something that I know that you're passionate about, or at least it's the minimum rabbit hole you're in right now.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Working on.
Yeah.
So,
it's really important.
You know, I don't know if you can talk about some of the client work, but at least just in a general sense, you know, like talk to us about your work around empathy.
Yeah, I can actually talk about it in detail. So one of the things I'm working on right now that I'm super into and really proud of is working with Ocean Spray on empathy training program. And where we ran the pilot, let's see, I guess a couple of weeks ago, we finished the pilot. And the idea was how to get people to experience the idea of empathy and self-awareness and curiosity, not only for themselves, but for each other and then for the consumer. And so myself and my colleague who is within the organization of Ocean Spray built this program together. And it's a 3-part series. And we have, again, made it extremely sort of hands-on, experience-based learning. So we start with things like drawing a map of your current world and sharing those maps with each other, and then showing maps of a childhood memory. And so they show like on Google Maps, and they bring it in and tell a story to each other. And then we do homework each time, but we do things like where one of the things we did was during a break, we had them have a snack, and with making the snack for themselves, they needed to kind of bandage their hands together. And we talked about limited dexterity and what it's like to not be able to open or close their products, you know, and what that's like. So what we're trying to do is have them.
Was this their own hands together or their hand with someone else's hand?
No. So this
like
hand,
their fingers
together. Got it.
Yes.
Not their hands, not like a Jimmy
hands,
Buffett
no.
thing, but like...
Yes, not their hands, not a shark. What it's like to be a shark. But that is a good idea, so I'm glad I made that mistake. Right. So we might up it and have them feel for sharks next time. But this time we just did fingers. And so the idea was...
I got another song, by the way. It's Ocean Spray, Ocean
Spray,
right? Got it.
Yeah, see, it could be shark. It goes with the ocean.
Yep.
Yeah, so it was really interesting, just all of the different things we incorporated and making those experiences as real as we could, and making the conversations hard but safe. And incorporating both applied improv and design thinking and visual thinking, as many different modalities for different ways of learning as we could into the training. And now we're rolling it out to the larger organization, to all the leadership and things like that.
Can you unpack the phrase hard but safe a little bit?
Yeah, so hard but safe, meaning we don't want to have conversations that are surface level. And in order to do that, you have to create a safe environment where people feel comfortable. So the reason we have a 3-part series is we're not like just throwing them into the sharks, if you will. We're like gradually getting them to open up and feel comfortable, but we're expecting to have hard conversations to in order to have empathy and be curious and, you know, talk about things like race and identity and privilege and all those kinds of things. Those are hard conversations to have. And in order to go there, you have to create a space that's safe and you feel like you trust each other, and you can't just jump into that at the very first second. So it's designed to get people to open up through these experiences.
So I just, you know, for the sake of somebody who might be listening to this and go, oh my God, yeah, that's an amazing idea. How might I encourage those or instigate those? What are some of those steps? Like, how do you create psychological safety? How do you create an environment of trust? What are some easy things that people can do quickly to do that in their organizations?
I think the first is the idea of practicing listening. Most of all is one of the most important things, is just leading by listening and setting up activities to help people practice that skill, and then asking curious questions, and again knowing that those things are coming from a good place that they want to learn. I think, but again, I always think you can't learn anything if you're not willing to listen. So I think any training in general should start there.
I was going to say, it sounds like graphic facilitation training.
Yeah.
Listening,
any training, yeah.
Ask curious questions, right? Yeah, that's good. I mean, why is it personally important for you? I know that you've been kind of lit up around the idea of empathy recently. So why is it kind of ringing in you right now? Why is it so important?
I mean, I think my whole life / career is based around people getting to be their full selves and getting to show up as who they are, and not being taken for granted, having a voice. That's always been really important to me my whole life. It's what attracted me to improv at a really young age. I loved it because it was like everybody's quirks and different personalities were what made the troupe great. It's what made the team work really well. I loved that. And I found it, luckily, because of my parents, at age 10. And I was so lucky to be embraced by that kind of culture and group. And I never looked back. So it's ingrained in me, those values of, valuing what everybody brings to the table, and the differences are what makes a team really great. That's what, to me, what improv and applied improvisation is. So growing up with those philosophies and using those to then turn it into my business are steeped in empathy. Who are you? What do you bring to the table? And why does that make the team great? Why does your different perspective matter? Your mindset matter? So yeah, empathy is a huge part of my life. And getting people to see each other for who they are is a huge part of what I do every day.
I know Jeff and I were working on this 4 fundamentals model of facilitation for this next book we're writing together, and empathy was kind of this wild card. Like, we've got these 4 quadrants, and they're intentional and behavioral and, communal and systemic. It's kind of based on the integral theory, kind of I, we, it, and it's. And empathy was just kind of like, where does it go? It's kind of in the middle. It's all the things, So, yeah. I mean, how do you feel about, where does, what bucket do you put empathy in? Like, how do you categorize?
Yeah, it's the heart in the middle, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the thing that brings it all together. It's the understanding. To me, it's that like, if it's a Venn diagram, it's the thing right in the center that allows you to do all those things you just mentioned.
Well, I mean, your company's called the Improv Effect, right? And you just mentioned that you started out, you did improv. You used to do improv. How important is the element of performance to you, of like being in a room? Are you missing? I know you don't want to go on a book tour, but like, do you miss being in a room with people and performing? Facilitation is largely performative for me. It's like we have the mic and we're playing the game, and we're moving chairs around, whatever. So do you miss that performative aspect of the work?
I definitely miss having a chance to be in the room with people, and having that energy is very different than being virtual. However, I don't necessarily miss, the performance so much as just the idea of getting to see people face to face and facilitating the learning face to face, because there are certain things that just work better when you're in the room with them. And there's just, there are things you can do in the room that you can't necessarily do, or you need to reframe when you're virtual, that I definitely love doing. And I love seeing people that I miss seeing at conferences and things like that, that I would look forward to seeing every year that I haven't seen, that kind of thing. But I don't know if performance I miss so much. Again, I think what drew me to improv, even though I loved doing improv shows, again, were more of the philosophies behind it. And that's the same with facilitation, is like how making the connections to one another, thinking on the spot, watching those like light bulbs go off, and being that person to help facilitate that learning is really where my love lies.
You've got a background in television, I know too, and production, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it feels like there's always been this, for you, there's always been this kind of subject object thing, you know, with your work, you know, in some way.
Yeah.
I mean, how does that, I mean, and now, you know, having worked in TV, I know for me, like working in print media, I look at media now and it's like, that's not even like 5 years ago. It's not even, it's unrecognizable, you know. Working in TV, which I think, you know, I don't know, it's another one of those dinosaurs, you know, of media. You know, how do you look around at the fragmentation and decentralization and what's happening with social media and mimetic bubbles and all of this stuff? And I mean, how do you reconcile it? You know, like, do you look back on your days in TV and go, the good old days? Or is it like, oh, we were setting everybody up for that? Like, it was, the writing was on the wall, you know, like, how do you perceive your time in media?
I don't know. For me, there were some things that I set out to do with TV that I got to do. So, and I mean, the main show that I wanted to work on, as you know, was Sesame Street, and I got to work on it. And it's a show that's been around forever. So it's kind of an interesting, like, it's a weird, like, outlier case because it's survived for so long. And I think, again, it's because has a really good framework. And I think empathy is at its core, is probably what attracted me to it. It always is about, like, staying up with what is going on in the world and how to teach those stories to both children and parents, those lessons, those lifelong lessons, in a way that is simple for people to understand, complicated tasks, complicated ideas, and doing it in a way that's entertaining both to parents and children at the exact same time. And so it's outlived so many other things in the media. So I look back at that and feel grateful that I was a part of it. And in terms of the way media is now, I think the interesting thing about it is that it gives a lot of people a chance to learn that wouldn't necessarily have a chance. When I worked in television, they wouldn't have necessarily had a chance to be a performer or to learn production or any of those things, where now they actually do, or to be a critic and to let their voices be heard. And now they actually do have a chance to do that. So there's good and bad to where we are right now, and where we were then.
Right. Yeah, there were very few people who held either the purse strings or the strings of power at the time, and there, you know, there are negatives to that, and there are negatives to the egalitarianism that you see today, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I see that. So, as someone who grew up on Sesame Street, I mean, yeah, that's an institution.
That's all I want to talk about now is Sesame Street.
So I remember,
I have 900 questions about Sesame Street.
I remember Buffy St. Marie, my Native American folk singer, performed on Sesame Street. I remember when Alice Cooper performed on Sesame Street.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah.
I was, you know, they were edgy, but they were, conscious and educational and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And even the ones they just did with CNN, the one on COVID and the one on race. I mean, those were amazing. They were really well done.
And again, I think empathy is at the center of what they do. And then simplicity in their storytelling, which is incredibly hard to do. You'd think it'd be easy, but it's not. Writing those scripts is incredibly hard to do. Like, how do you tackle such hard issues in such a simple way so that everybody can understand them and be entertained and learn at the same time.
Yeah, it's like the power in the simplicity of something like Mr. Rogers, where there's not a lot being said, but literally everything is being said in that
so
moment.
Much is
or
said.
Sometimes in the silence, everything is being said, or sometimes what's being shown and not talked about, everything's being said, right? All of it.
Yeah, that is very much like my style of facilitation as well. I'm like, just when you think all we're doing is having fun, they're like, oh my God, wait a second. we just learned something. We're like, bam. That's what I love when I'm like, nope, I'm not going to explain this thing right now. You're going to come to the discovery of it. And then they're like, holy cow, this silly little thing actually had a ton of learning. I'm like, yep. Ha ha.
Yep. Ha ha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Get you into learning.
Yep. I love that tricky little.
Jeff, what are your questions about Sesame Street?
Yeah. Okay. What are your questions?
I have so many questions about Sesame Street.
Oh, no.
What number one question about Sesame Street is, what do you think would be the most, what one thing, if you could tell the whole world about Sesame Street, would you tell them that they don't know right now? Like, what do people need to know?
I don't know. Gosh, I think, well, I would assume they know this, but it is a really magical place. I think a lot of times when you go to a company and you're like in awe, like, oh my gosh, I finally got this incredible job, or I finally reached this goal and I got to this company or whatever. And then you find out who Oz is and you're like, oh gosh, I wish I never found this out.
Right.
And then it like ruins your whole life, that it actually is really an incredible place. I mean, I did lose some of my childhood, like magical memories when I went to Jim Henson's studio and some of the Muppets were in drawers, and that was really upsetting to me because they preserved them in drawers and it was like they were in body bags and dead, and that was so sad. So that ruined some of the magic.
Like a morgue.
Yeah.
Like a Muppet morgue.
Yeah. It was like, here's Miss Piggy, and it was just, that was sad.
It's time to play the music.
Yeah.
It's time to dim the lights.
So
it's time to leave the Muppets in the Muppet morgue tonight. Wow.
So yeah, that
dark-ass musical.
That part was real dark. But the rest of the culture was great.
Okay.
Yeah. That's hard to unsee.
Yeah. That's hard to think about.
Part of growing up, Jessie.
Okay, so speaking of unseen, this is my next Sesame Street question.
Okay.
Do you think revealing Mr. Snuffleupagus was a mistake?
No.
Tell me why.
Because there were children who had secrets of like abuse or other things where they needed to tell somebody real, and they could not tell a imaginary friend. They needed to tell a real person or an adult. And they found that some kids that were going through really difficult things were not telling an actual person, they were telling an imaginary friend. And so they brought Snuffleupagus to life so that kids who were having some real trauma would actually tell a human being. So
wow.
I believe they did the right thing.
I'm gonna have to agree with you on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You have my approval, and now you can leave.
Bye.
Well, thanks for joining us today on Jeff Ruins the Interview.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
I didn't know. How many people know about that? Is that a thing that was talked about at the time?
I don't know. I mean, I knew about it.
Is that why they did it?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's why they did it. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know how many people know about it, but that is why they did it. Yeah.
You got the scoop, man. That's the scoop.
I got the inside scoop.
Yeah. So you told me you had told me a funny story. Would you mind sharing that story about what happened to you there?
Oh, with the bodyguard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that something you can talk about?
Sure, why not? So so for the show that I worked on, we were creating a show called Sesame Street English, and we needed to create a brand new Muppet that was like needed to be kept under wraps. So
a brand new Muppet.
And so it was a very secretive thing. Secret Muppet, and nobody could know about it. Nobody could see it. And so at Sesame Street at the time, we needed to take the Muppet to to get some legs, which was a very long, drawn out like conversation of whether our Muppet should have legs or not. That was a whole nother like a couple month process of arguing. But once they decided,
do most of them have legs?
No, some do and some don't.
Oh, okay.
But it's a very big discussion. So we needed to decide whether or not our new Muppet should have legs. So once they decided our Muppet was going to have legs, but nobody could see the Muppet, then I somehow was volunteered to take our new Muppet to Jim Henson Studios to get legs. And so I went downstairs and they had a security guard, like a bodyguard, waiting. And I was like, what is this? And it was like, I don't know if it was for me or for the Muppet. I think it was for the Muppet, but maybe they thought I was going to take the thing. I don't know. And so the bodyguard and the Muppet and I in a box went in a limo.
Bodyguard, the Muppet and I is the next song. Yes. But please continue.
Is it in a body bag? Because
I didn't open the box because there was a bodyguard.
There was a dude
I didn't want to give them any reason.
You have a gun?
I don't know. I didn't open their jacket, and I didn't open the box.
It wasn't visibly armed.
Yeah. So
he had another bodyguard Muppet.
He did. He's like, hello.
He was like, don't open the box.
I've got a Muppet gun.
Think about it. No peeking. That was it.
It was, yes.
So bodyguard, the body bag. There's a Muppet inside. There's a secret Muppet inside. Bodyguard, the body bag. There's a secret Muppet inside. Right? That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we went down to Jim Henson Studios and I didn't get arrested. I didn't try to steal the Muppet, and the Muppet didn't get stolen, and we made it safely to the studios. And I still to this day have no idea like why the Muppet had so much security, or I did. I don't know if they didn't trust me. I have no idea.
Maybe there was threats. Maybe somebody was like, I'm gonna see that Muppet. It's the last thing I do. They were like, we gotta get somebody in here. Jessie's gonna be toast.
Now, I could tell you
could have absconded with the secret Muppet. That's one option.
Yeah.
You could have
hold on. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Right here to ta-da.
I have one of its legs. That's all.
Right. It's a one-legged Muppet. So you could also have like popped open the box and taken a pic. Was this like iPhone or was this pre-iPhone?
This was pre-iPhone.
So
can you tell us which Muppet it was?
Yeah, the Muppet's name was Tingo, and it was made specifically for the show.
Yeah. For Sesame Street English.
Yeah, that came out in China and Japan. Yep.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
But you could have taken a picture of it.
So it wasn't like all the Muppets were like, "Hello, Big Bird."
That's right. That's right. You can look it up on YouTube. You can look up Tingo, and you can see
he's the one with
Tingo...
legs.
He's the one with legs.
You can
he's
look
the
it
only
up.
one.
Yeah,
I do think it's interesting that some Muppets have legs and some don't, and I'm really just come back to the metaphor of like when something has legs.
It's like that. What's that? It's like Animal Farm.
Up, it's done.
That book. What is that with the have legs and they don't have legs? It's like Animal Farm. That book.
2 legs good. 4 legs good. 2 legs bad,
or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's because of
or when an idea has legs, like it's finished or complete or something, So like, just the idea of these legless kind of unfinished Muppets or ideas.
Muppets.
I don't know.
Muppets.
Or that something graduates, or there's that much thought or discussion about something getting to have legs, right?
Oh, I mean, had you been a fly on a wall at these conversations, I mean, they were so interesting and ridiculous. I mean,
what's the argument against giving a Muppet legs? Just curious.
Well, the way that they film it, you know, would they be doing most of the filming where you can't, like this, where you can't see the
legs? The argument is just that it's a waste? Okay.
Like, so surely the salary that was spent on those conversations could have covered maybe 30 or 40 Muppet legs. Am I wrong?
I mean, you're not wrong, but it was very important at the time.
It's very important. No legs for Tingo. How many times? It's another song. No legs for Tingo. No legs for Tingo. He can't go because there's no legs for Tingo. Ride a bike, can't sing a song. You don't need legs to sing for Tingo.
You should have written the songs for Tingo on Sesame Street.
I should have.
Yeah.
I should have. Because they would all be about his legs. And
I think we've done 18 songs at this point.
Yes. We're good. We're amazing at this. We should be writing musicals.
I know.
Together forever. That's our new
forever and ever.
Yes, or at least for the next 12 minutes.
Yes.
Close enough.
So Jessie, again, we've gone to the past. We've rubber banded to your past, right? Like a slingshot. And now
we have.
Now we're Leo on the bow of the ship. Like, what's in the future going forward?
I have no idea.
We're like Tingo on the bow of the ship.
Watch out for my legs.
What does the future hold for you?
Oh, I don't know.
What's your vision?
My vision. Well, I think I want to go on a book tour, go back to Sesame Street and start a musical.
Awesome.
Probably live in a ghost hotel, I think.
Yes.
With some ghost cats.
I highly recommend it.
I think I really do love the empathy work, and I would love to continue to bring that kind of work out to other organizations. It's just super meaningful. I'm loving working on it, and I think it's something needed and could be spread to whoever feels like that's an important thing for their organization. So that's something I would love to keep doing. And I think I told you I was doing work with the UN, right? Did I tell you that?
Maybe.
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
No, not today.
UN is great. I'd like to keep doing that too.
That's the finale. Save that for the final.
Yeah.
The final number.
Yes, the final number. The work there has been extremely gratifying for numerous reasons. So I'd love to find a way to continue to do work like that as well, because they're their values are again around inclusivity and hearing all the voices and how to, I don't know. I want to be working on projects that are linked to making sure that the work people are doing are making positive changes and collaborative and cohesive and all of those things, and making a positive impact on each other. So any way I can do that, I just want to keep doing it. And some of the things I've gotten to do in the past year and a half, I'd like to keep kind of growing that out in any way that I can.
I mean, is that, when I think of like, the church model or whatever, like there's these many like ministries within, right? There's this kind of outreach that you're doing in the communities. Do you view that work as kind of a separate or arm of your organization, of your business, or is it central to it? Like, how do you see it?
I think it's central to it. It's just, I think what's interesting is it's during the pandemic, a lot of the work has been really, really impactful and really important work, and not as many like one-off things, a lot of like bigger projects and really digging in with organizations and companies. So it's still central to what I've done. It's just less of like a little sprinkle here and a little sprinkle there. So I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think it's like an arm of it necessarily.
Then cast a big, bold vision for me. Like, what does that look like 5 years from now? All of that is in place. Who are you working with? How many organizations? How many people have you touched or affected with the work you're doing? What's the big, bold vision?
I hope a lot, because at the center of it, I feel like the empathy, curiosity, the unlearning, those are all to me such important values. So as many people as we can touch in my organization, the better. I feel like I really do believe in the work that I do. I think it's important. And so I think in order to do that, working with other facilitators is a big piece of it. I can't do it all on my own. And I've been co-facilitating with a lot of people in the past few years, and especially in the past year, consistently. Every project I've brought on at least one other person, if not more. And that will have to be the case in order to grow, just to keep finding great people to work with. Otherwise, I will not be able to keep the pace that I'm keeping at right now, let alone grow it. There's just no way.
Yeah. Yeah. You find
so
the right people.
That's finding good people. Yeah.
Yeah. And onboard them.
Onboarding.
To your way and your team, right? Your playbook.
Yeah. And most of all, just onboarding people that have the integrity and value system that really care. I think that's the first and foremost, most important thing. And then the rest comes after that.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeff.
Yes.
Any last questions for Jessie?
Yeah, I have two. The first is in your 3-day ocean spray engagement. You thought about productizing that methodology?
Yeah, I've thought about it, and I think it's a possibility of potentially doing that. I think part of it is looking at some of the curriculum and how to make it work on a larger scale for all types of facilitators.
Yeah.
Some of the interactive activities, like how would we make them work for anybody who would want to facilitate it, as opposed to like more of a specialist, if you will. But yeah, I think that's one way to scale that kind of program, which I really believe in spreading.
That's a great question. I mean, just for the larger organizations who probably have the budget and the capacity for utilization and implementation of something like that across a team, who owns that? Who champions that? Is it HR? Is it operations? Is it, you know what I mean? Like, who's in charge of that initiative internally?
So it's right now it's a little bit with learning and development and HR there. Okay. Yeah. But we both sort of own the thing because we created it together. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm just thinking about companies who want to do that. You know, who do they
get to spearhead it?
Who gets voluntold? Like you got voluntold to walk Tingo down the block. You know, like who gets voluntold to do that work?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It depends on how the organization's set up sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's somebody, it doesn't even have to be HR or learning development. It might just be somebody in a large organization who sees the need for their team and they'll pilot it and then word gets out. That's happened to me plenty of times too at big organizations, and it's never even touched HR, which is interesting. Yeah.
All right.
Second question. I want to workshop a title for our musical. I'm thinking Cranberries and Empathy, Tingo's Journey.
It sounds really sweet.
Yeah, that's a winner. That's a winner, y'all. And it's now time for the final number. What was the UN is great, right? So everybody sing along. If you're at home, sing along. Here we go. And 1, 2, 3, and the UN is great. Come on,
it's great.
UN is great. UN is great.
It's great.
UN is great. All the voices now. UN
is great.
All the faces.
UN is great.
All the voices now.
UN is great.
Yeah. Success. Musical within an hour. I think we hit 10 songs. I think we nailed it. Great work, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jessie, thank you for being with us and having this conversation today. Our very first interview.
I really set the standard so high.
For the Johnny Zone, and you did.
You did. If we don't get a musical out of every interview, it's going to be a failure. We're just going to be like, dang it.
What is this?
Why are we even doing this?
Yeah, really. Just hang up on them. Just be like, this is not working. This is not working out.
Can't work with this. Come on.
Can't work with this, people. Well, this is everything I thought it would be. So thank you.
Good. And Jeff, be safe in Atlanta with those ghost cats.
I'm doing my best.
Watch out.
Yeah, watch out for their claws.
And have a great rest of the day and great rest of the week.
Too. Thank you.
All right. See you later. Bye.
Bye.